Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over my Week 1 battle for the 5th season of the PDL. This week, we have a pretty special battle, in my opinion. We are going up against Tyler, who is actually my brother. So yeah, as far as his kind of background, he doesn't really play Pokemon like competitively anymore outside of this league when he does decide to play, but just based on his knowledge of games in general, he played competitive Magic for a bit. He still plays just a bit of Overwatch and stuff, and even though that's slightly different, there's still a bit of strategy in terms of team composition and stuff, but just with his general knowledge of games in general, I know that he can be a very, very effective player, so I definitely can't afford him to take lightly, even though he doesn't play Pokemon too much. And yeah, again, we're also just here to have some fun and try out some new stuff that we otherwise haven't been able to try yet. So, looking at the team that I brought, so we brought actually a pretty, I guess nowadays it's a pretty standard Manaphy of max speed, max HP. With Tail Glow 3 attacks, we are Waconberry to make sure that his Thundurus cannot revenge kill us as long as we are at a decent amount of health. And then obviously +3 Surf is a guarantee OHKO on that. And then the other two moves we have are Ice Beam, mainly for his Dhelmise, and then Energy Ball, mainly for his Suicune, which are both there. And then past that, speaking of that Suicune, we do have our Rotom Cut, which is going to be our pretty much guaranteed check to it. Not necessarily check in case he has Ice Beam, but in the sense that if he's just max HP, then Leaf Storm does a ton of damage to it. Plus, he doesn't like taking the electric hits I can have. We are pretty much max in terms of speed and special attack, only because I was really fearing the Vincoon set. If you know me long enough, I make it a point not to lose to Vincoon, so I basically had to go max speed on that. And then my next Pokemon, Musharna, is pretty much useless this game because Tyler also has a Mega Metacham on his roster, which did not show up. So, Musharna was going to be my dedicated check to that. We were max physically defensive with Moonlight, Psychic, Toxic, and Baton Pass for Momentum. I failed to mention this in my draft analysis, but only dry Baton Passing is allowed in the PDL, so we can't Baton Pass stats, but I can still use Baton Pass for gaining Momentum. So that's the reason that that's there. Past that, we also have a kind of mixed, but mostly physically defensive Incineroar, which was supposed to be my dedicated Entei switch-in, which Tyler also did elected not to bring. So it's probably going to end up being a decent Dhelmise switch-in, as long as he doesn't have Earthquake. And then past that, I went through a lot of variants of the Aerodactyl that you see on the screen here. Basically, I knew Webs was going to be an issue, so I thought about Taunt, but in the end, I decided on a slightly different route. We are Stealth Rock Defog with Stone Edge plus Z Sky Attack to nuke anything. Stone Edge does guarantee kill the Rabombi, but as long as I have Rocks up, then I can just break the potential Sash. And then past that, the Z-Fly, the issue with running the Mono Stone Edge was because I actually thought about Rocks, Defog, Taunt, and then Stone Edge with Z-Rock. But Tyler actually has a lot of really good just Rock switch-ins that he could have. His Skarmory is a decent one, his Garchomp's a decent one. Skarmory can take the Z Sky Attack relatively well, but in general, looking at the rest of Tyler's roster, which he left on the bench by his roster's the 6 in front of you, and then on the bench he left his Mega Metacham, his Entei, his Barbaracle, and his oh my god, I don't remember what his last Pokemon is. Oh my god, I honestly cannot remember. It was obviously it was something that wasn't really important in the match because I didn't really prep for it. But yeah, oh, his Zoroark. Yeah, right. He has a Zoroark as well that he left on the bench. So, man has Webs plus Mega Metacham Zoroark, so go figure that. But anyways, yeah, I opted that Z Sky Attack against just his team in general just seemed better rather than potentially missing Stone Edges, or even just Z-Rock. If I blow that on the wrong thing, then it wouldn't be that great for me. So, we're a fancy sort of Aerodactyl set with not quite max attack. We have quite a bit of bulk investment actually. And then finally we have our Mega Diancie, which is slightly different. It only has Moonblast Power Gem as its stabs, and then because it didn't really need anything else for the rest of the match, I actually ended up putting on Sub Endeavor. as Suicune, if he is the right set, can actually tank hits pretty much for days. So I just put enough investment. I put in the offensive investment I needed with the rest into HP, and then to the point where if I don't take any hazardous damage, then I can keep subbing up on on Tyler's Suicune, and then bring myself down to 1 HP, and then endeavor it down to 1 HP as well. So yeah, looking at the potential lead matchup, again, like, there's kind of two potential leads I see here with Skarmory and Ribombee, both leading to set up hazards. Both of which, like, I'm more afraid of the webs more so than the rocks, so I do decide to lead off with my Aerodactyl, as it's a better lead matchup against the Ribombee, but Tyler does decide to lead with the Skarmory. So, fearing the Iron Head and not wanting to take a chunk of damage, I do decide to hard switch into my Manaphy, but as we do see here, Tyler does afford to set up his rocks, and this is a prime opportunity for me to set up the Tail Glow. In hindsight, I know that Tyler likes to run Toxic on his Skarmory, so I probably should have seen that coming, and I thought about running potential Rain Dance for that specific reason, to clear off a Toxic. However, with Rain Dance and without a coverage move, I couldn't really hit everything I needed to hit. So if I was just Surf Ice Beam, I couldn't hit the Suicune, and if I was just Surf Energy Ball, I couldn't hit the Dhelmise, which I think were both relatively likely brings on his part. I could have brought Rain Dance plus Ice Beam Energy Ball. That could have been a thing, but then at the same time, then Rain Dance is really only there just to clear the Toxic, so it didn't really feel right to not run Water Stab if I had Rain Dance, so I elected to ignore the Rain Dance to clear the Toxic, but that's okay, because honestly right now we are in a pretty prime position. So obviously Tyler still has Sturdy up on his Skarmory. If he didn't Surf Wood Kill, that's pretty obvious, but what I can do is safely go for Ice Beam in the case where he does want to hard swap into his Dhelmise and try to resist it. So I do go for the Ice Beam. He does elect to stay in and take a chunk. He does go for Roost on this turn, but again, since his Sturdy is broken, it doesn't matter. I can safely go for Surf and either switch up moves on something he switches in, or knock out the Skarmory, which is what ends up happening. And now is the time, because we did bring in the Wakan Berry specifically for this moment, where Tyler tries to revenge kill with his Thundurus, and he pops our Wakan Berry, and we can guarantee knock this out with Surf. And that is an absolutely dead Thundurus, and on top of that, our Manaphy lives on 1 HP. It was actually like 3 HP, but 1%, which is great. So at this point, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a really good spot for my Aerodactyl to defog, I'm not going to lie. So, honestly, with me being Toxic, I'm just going to let the Manaphy go down here, as even, like I said, I am max HP, max speed, so even if I do send it in, it's either to save as a sack for later, or to fire off an unboosted attack, which without investment I'm not doing too much damage. So I do just elect to fire off the Energy Ball here in the rare case where Tyler doesn't go for Protect, or at least just try to get some damage off. But Tyler does show here to show that he does have Protect, which does lead me to believe at this time that he could possibly be a Vincoon set. So unfortunately our Manaphy goes down, but not without 2 kills on our own. So at this point, I'm definitely fearing the Vincoon. I do want to pressure this out into my Rotom into my Rotom Mow, and I do click the Leaf Storm button, but he does go into this, into his Dhelmise here, and that does, a considerable amount of damage, showing me that he is only, max HP. So I'll let this play out. So I thought about this turn for a very, very, very long time. So I actually can't even say that. So I had. I guess I neglected to mention all of my Rotom's moves. So I have Volt Switch, Leaf Storm, Will-O-Wisp, and Hidden Power Ice for his Garchomp. So I thought for a really long time that my play was 100% a Will-O-Wisp here, which it probably should have been, because I was actually predicting him to switch out into Garchomp for him predicting my Volt Switch. So I had the Will-O-Wisp button clicked for a while. And then I thought, well, my Will-O-Wisp was clicked for a long time, and Tyler was taking a long time to select his move. And then I thought, like, I second-guessed myself, basically, and I said, well, wait a minute. Even if I Volt Switch here, and he switches out into Garchomp, I get leftovers back, and even if he's banded, he can't kill me with anything. And I can just Will-O-Wisp this turn after, which is fine. So I actually elect to click the Volt Switch button here anyways. If he does stay in, I do think it is to go for a knockoff here, as if he stays in, knockoff seems pretty free to me, so I do elect to go for the Volt Switch. As we do see here, he does stay in, and since I'm predicting him to go for the knockoff, I look at the rest of my team, and since my Aerodactyl is Z, it can easily take the knockoff and can defog on the turn after. My Aerodactyl would probably go down after, but that's fine. It did its job. It got the rocks away. As we do see here, I go into my Aerodactyl, which does take the rocks, but Tyler elects to stunt me and goes for the anchor shot, and that was a very good prediction on his part, and that puts us in a very, very tricky situation, because now these rocks are here to stay, and unfortunately, my team is not that resistant to rocks at this point, because I have no resist, and my Incineroar is weak to them. So my Incineroar is going to lose 25% health every time I send it out, which I do believe I send it out right here to try to scare this thing out. So seeing that, I'm pretty sure he's going to switch out here as he does go for the Garchomp. I am going to click the U-turn button here and basically confirm, like, I mean, that's offensive Garchomp. It's pretty obvious. I go into my Musharna here, as since it's physically defensive, it's definitely the best sponge I have left for Garchomp. So I do fire off the Toxic here, as like I said before, his Garchomp cannot do anything to kill me from here. Even if he Swords Dances, then at least I put it on a timer, and then I know it's not Scarfed. So my Megaane can 100% revenge kill it with Moonblast. As we do see here, Tyler does decide to fire off the Z move, trying to gauge for damage, I suppose. And as we do see here, that doesn't really do a whole lot, so I do click the Toxic button and get this Garchomp on a timer. However, there is one play that could really put me in an even worse position than I'm already in, which is if he, seeing how much damage his Garchomp did to my Musharna, if he thinks that's a dead cause, he could hard switch right now into Suicune. In which case, if I click Moonlight on his switch into Suicune, he gets a sub for free, and I am in a really bad spot if that happens. So, actually predicting him to try to hard swap into the Suicune, I'm actually going to click the Toxic button again here, as even if he does stay in, this is definitely my most expendable member. And seeing that he's not Scarfed, I can guarantee switch in my Megaane to revenge it, so that's not that big of a deal. So I do click the Toxic button right here, predicting a switch out into most likely Suicune, but I mean catching anything else with the Toxic is perfectly fine as well. But as we do see here, Tyler does elect to stay in and just click Earthquake. So unfortunately that's a wasted turn, but like I said, Garchomp is getting worn down, and like we do see here, I do click Psychic on this turn, I believe, but as we do see here, Tyler locks himself into Outrage, which is even better than it could have been before, because now I get the opportunity to switch into Megaane and get an absolutely free sub up. So that way I can start denting his team even more. And as we do see here, I do click the sub button, and Tyler, of course, is locked into Outrage, so that can't do anything. So I do elect to fire off the Moonblast here. I'm denting something if the switch is in, but Tyler, seeing the state his Garchomp was in, definitely elects to let it go down, which is definitely the best move here. And Tyler does switch into his Suicune here, so honestly, I know nothing about the Suicune right now, and this is definitely the time to find out something about the Suicune. If he is Vincoon, then I attack him with Moonblast before he gets a sub up, and then I can guarantee break it. And yeah, like, basically, even though it doesn't seem particularly right, the fact is Moonblast can still break a sub when he's at +1 special defense, so for now, Moonblast does seem like a pretty safe play in my opinion, so I do just go for that, and from that damage, that is definitely confirmed that he's only max HP. But as we do see here, he does go for Scald, or sorry, not Scald, he goes for Ice Beam, which does break my sub, which is fine. Since my sub is broken, I am going to switch out into my Rotom, which once again is my dedicated response to this Suicune. And as he reveals Surf, actually, and with that damage, now that we can see how much damage that it did, it's actually revealed that he is max special attack modest. So he is definitely not the set I expected him to be. But I actually anticipate him to switch out, as from here, Leaf Storm, I believe, can kill from here. It's either a guaranteed or a roll to kill from here. So I do think he's going to switch out here, so I do try to go for the Volt Switch. But as we do see here, Tyler does go for the Protect to get a little bit of leftovers health back and to scout what exactly it is that I want to do. And seeing at this point now, I am actually going to click the Leaf Storm button here just to try to basically to try to stunt him, because if he thinks I'm still going to go My logic is, if he thinks I'm going to go for Volt Switch, he can calc that since he knows I'm max special attack based on the damage I did with, based on the damage I did to his Delmise, Volt Switch cannot kill from here. So if he thinks that, then I can just easily click Leaf Storm, and if I don't kill him, then I severely dent him to the point where my Mega Diancie can easily come in and revenge. So I do click the Leaf Storm button here, anticipating him to basically over-predict on my Volt Switch. But yeah, Tyler does actually end up switching out into his Delmise. So unfortunately, my Leaf Storm just keeps hitting that button, or just keeps hitting that stupid anchor. And now is kind of a thing. I probably should have clicked the Will-O-Wisp button here, but this is pretty much the turn that spells out the end for me, I'm not going to lie. Because I could click Will-O-Wisp here to try to stop this thing from pretty much dealing damage from my entire team. But I instead elect to... oh my goodness, Volt Switch out into my Incineroar, because since he is max special attack modest on his Suicune, I do need to keep my Rotom at a particularly healthy amount in order for me to live Ice Beam, and as well there is still a Rabombi in the back, which does a considerable amount of damage with Bug Buzz, in the case that even if he's not boosting item, it's still an easily a 2-hit KO, so I do want to try to excuse me, as best as I can preserve health on this, so I do decide to go for the Volt Switch on this. Unfortunately, it may be a little bit too predictable play, because I do switch into Incineroar here, and Tyler easily predicts that and goes for the Earthquake, and unfortunately knocks out my Incineroar. So it's really not looking good for us. In fact, at the amount of health I'll be at with Mega Diancie, basically, I can kill this, like I do decide to go into Mega Diancie here, and after the rocks damage, a max roll Moonblast from his Rabombi can kill me from here. So I'm in a really, really tough spot, but basically I don't know, I basically have to rely on Tyler to choke for me to win this game, I'm not gonna lie. I do click Moonblast here, as like I said, it was just the obvious play for me, and Tyler does elect to let his Delmise go down, but now as we do see here, he goes into his Suicune. I still have to go into my Rotom, which is, again, my dedicated response to this, and yeah, honestly at this point, it's not really relevant. Like, I'm just looking at the way that the game is going to play out, since his Rabombi outspeeds everything, he's definitely going to win this game. That Leaf Storm miss didn't really matter. It only mattered in the sense, like, for a differential point, because it couldn't have killed the Suicune from there, but it would have brought the Suicune down to a point where it was easily revengeable from my Mega Diancie. So instead of being a 1-0 loss, we unfortunately end up taking a 2-0 loss as our Week 1 match in Season 5 of the PDL. Again, I want to wish Tyler the greatest of games. It was a very good game, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's not too much to say, other than, like, I'm really happy to actually be playing my brother in something, because, like, or at least, like, something, I can't really say, like, meaningful, because it's always fun to play with him, but, like, I don't know, I've only played with him, like, a few times on this channel, just in the times that he's been in PDL as well, and, yeah, I'm just always, like, I always look forward to those games, because, I mean, it's just with my brother, it's always going to be fun. And yeah, unfortunately, we copped the 2-0 loss in this one, but we're going to try to come back next week when we play up against my good pal Kyle, who's a buddy all the way back from high school, so we have a little bit of, you know, personal history and all that stuff, because we're pretty good pals, I would say. But yeah, we're looking to bounce back hard after this unfortunate loss, but yeah, that's going to be it for Week 1 of PDL. Keep your guys' eyes out on the channel, I guess. Yeah, for next week, I guess you would know that UPA... I made UPA playoffs at this point, so yeah, keep your guys' eyes out on the channel for the team builder for the quarterfinals match. It will be against Blitz, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.